Director, NCERT, Dr. Dinesh Prasad Saklani ji. My colleague, Srimati Shalini Pandit, Secretary School Education, Government of Odisha. Srimati Archana Sharma Avasthi, Joint Secretary in Department of School Education and Literacy. Professor Manjul Bhargav, co-chair of NSTC and one of the main drivers and inspiration behind the formulation and implementation of the National Education Policy of 2020. All our colleagues, I can see so many familiar faces in the crowd, and all the officials of Government of Odisha from the Education Department, ladies and gentlemen. At the outset, I must congratulate Government of Odisha for having taken a decision to implement the National Education Policy 2020 in the state. And it also mentions that the National Curriculum Framework for Foundational Studies and School Education, which has been developed by Government of India, would be contextualized suitably and implemented in the state. This augurs well for the state, and it augurs well also for the fact that different states across the countries are implementing the National Education Policy. All of you know that education is part of the concurrent list. And primarily, the administration and management of most of the schools in the state, in the country, is actually with the state government. So the state government's role in implementation of the National Education Policy and also creating a common platform across the country is extremely important. I have a small presentation which gives a snapshot of the Odisha education system based on UDICE plus 23-24 data, which we have just released a few weeks back. But before that, I would want to say something which I learned in the school. And I learned in the school when I was studying biology that how important it is for any living being to have a structure. You know, a structure is extremely important. And I learned that how does oxygen gets carried in the bloodstream of human beings. So you all know that the red blood corpuscles, they carry the oxygen to different parts of the body. Have you seen the shape of a RBC? Why is the RBC shaped in the manner it is? And it is shaped in the manner it is because it carries oxygen to different parts of the body, but it also binds the oxygen on its surface. So when you're binding the oxygen on the surface, you need a structure where you have a maximum surface area for a given volume. I hope I'm not complicating things, but this is basically school-going science. So for a particular volume, you require a maximum surface area. And also, these corpuscles are going through thin capillaries. So they need a shape by which they can worm their way through a capillary. What happens if you don't get this structure? You get sickle cell anemia. So what is sickle cell anemia? Sickle cell anemia is a genetic disorder in which the red blood corpuscles, they lose their shape and they become sickle-shaped. And what it does to your human body is very well known to all of us. It cannot cross through the capillaries because of its shape. And as a result, it starts clotting. It gathers in thin parts, narrow parts of the capillary. The reason why I'm mentioning this to you is that you must get your structure right. And if you look at nature, in nature you will find that it is the function which determines the shape. It is the physiology which determines the morphology. And it cannot be the other way around. Similarly, when you are looking at the schooling structure also, we must ask ourselves this question, that do I have the right structure for the schooling education to be able to ensure that every child gets access to these schools? And when you are making a journey from pre-primary class to class 12th, what is your structure of schooling which determines that every child who is part of the schooling system, he actually traverses, navigates his way from class 1 to class 12th with ease. And if there is difficulty on the way, you will find that you will not get optimal results. And this is what I'm going to show to you, that how our schooling structure is determining the kind of outcomes we are having. So this is the structure of the presentation. So I'm going to give you a snapshot of school education. Odisha has achieved a lot in the last 10 years, figures I have taken. What were the major challenges and what we need to do so as to have a way forward by way of implementation of the National Education Policy of 2020. Look at this structure. I would want you to spend a little time on this graph. You have, this is for all India. We have 14.672 lakhs schools in the country. And out of that, 50% are primary schools, that is class 1 to 5. This snapshot is only giving you, and we have 24.8 crore children being taught by 98 lakh teachers. So this is what the national level looks like. But what is Odisha looking like? This is what Odisha looks like. You have 61,693 schools, which have 77.5 lakh students, and you have 3,35,000 teachers who are part of the schooling system. But look at the pyramid. It is so steeply shaped. Half the schools are primary schools. And when you come to class 11th and 12th, you will find that only 2,799 schools have got class 11th and 12th. If you look at the numbers here, if you have 77.5 lakh children total, and you have 34.6 lakh children in class 1 to 5, average number of students in a class is 7 lakhs. You come to 6, 7, 8, they have 21.4 lakh students. Again, it gives you about 7 lakh children per class. But the moment you come to class 9th and 10th, you see that you have 6.2 lakh children per class. 80,000 students are going out from class 8 to 9. And when you come to class 11th and 12th, you have only 4.5 lakh children per class. So, while making a transition from class 1 to class 12th, you begin with 7 lakh children per class, and I end up having only 4.5 lakh children in class 11th and 12th. So, this is a cause of worry, and this August gathering, which is here for this conference, it needs to look at it. So I was looking at the structure of this conference, 3 days, and you have 10 themes. I will leave this presentation behind, but when you are deliberating on the kind of themes to which you have been assigned, you may like to look at it with a broad macro picture which this presentation is going to provide. This is the breakup. And the important thing is, 79% of schools in Odisha are government schools, but they have 67% of students and 63% of teachers. Whereas if you look at the private schools, 11% of schools have 20% of students and 27% teachers. So the private schools are larger schools. Their PTR also is comparatively better than us. But the larger point I am leaving for you is that we in the government, we are punching below our weight. We need to do better than this. We need to make our school systems more attractive so more and more children come to our school. And how do you do it? You do it by creating a brand around our schools. You have Odisha Avasiya Vidyalaya. Every block has one residential school which is doing well. We are also going to have PM Shri schools in the state, but these are some of the brands which must create. We must convince parents and community that the government schools are equally good as the private schools, so they may send their children to these schools for effectively equally good learning outcomes as they might get in the private sector schools. These are some of the things you have done well, but little worry. Girls is 48.7%. So in a 50-50 society, your gender parity ratio is a little less than 1. You have 48% teachers who are females, but even today 52% are male. At the national level, we have made the transition. So at the national level, we have 52% teachers who are female and 48% who are male. Look at your gross enrollment ratio. For primary, good, 95.8, upper primary, 96.7, but you see that big ellipse there which says higher secondary. Only 58.6 is the GER. Transition rates, again, you need to deliberate and talk about it when you have this meeting. The right-hand side is showing the kind of improvement the state has made in the infrastructure in the last 10 years, and I must compliment the state that you have done well. Electricity, now almost 96.5% schools have electricity. I'm really pleased to see that in computer, having an ICT facility available in the school, you have moved from 13.7 to almost 60%. Internet is even better, 82. But I would want to draw the attention of Shalini that when you're looking at internet connectivity in our school, we should try and see, can we get a fiber optic line in our schools? Because that is going to give you much better access. And one of the issues which I would want to flag it for you, that work with the Department of Telecom people, the BBNL people are bringing in a optic fiber to all panchayats. Can we sit with them and work out so we get a fiber optic connection, especially in our high schools? The larger point I'm leaving behind for the state is, you see, if you look at the 23-24 figure, can we saturate this figure? 96.5 can go to 100. 82 can go to 100. Drinking water is already 100. So wherever you are in the 90s, I think with a little effort, you can saturate. And when you bring in the PAB for 24, 25, 26, you may like to have this in your mind. Little effort, and you'll be able to saturate the kind of facilities you have in the school. This is the PTR for different types of schools. So primary, yes, it is good, 17. But the higher secondary is a bit cause of concern. It's 39. And again, the state may like to see. And the larger question is that how do I augment my secondary level schooling structure? I'm going to skip this, but I leave it for you. As and when you see, then you can see how does the median height, median weight for boys and girls compare as compared to national level. You will find that Odisha is a little less than what the national figures are. So what are the major challenges? The major challenges are small schools, multiple school categories. You have two separate boards for 10th and 12th. I think a decision has been taken to merge the two. But has it happened? Not as yet. We were worrying about access. Now I think by and large, we have ensured that almost all children are part of school. I think this is the time to start looking at learning outcomes and to ensure that every child who's going to school is actually enjoying being in the school and there is good learning outcome. The child is learning the way NEP prescribes, the kind of assessment, the kind of joyful experiential learning which the NEP envisages. And I'm not talking about the NEP per se because Professor Manjul Bhargav is going to talk about it and is going to give you a complete broad picture of what the NEP envisages. And the gap in core infrastructural facilities which I just mentioned. Look at this. Look at how your schools are shaped. And when I say a small school, what do I mean by a small school? A small school is a school which has enrollment of less than 50. And 39% of schools in Odisha are small schools as compared to the national average of 34. So actually, if you see, there are 11.9% schools where you have only 21 to 30 children. And the highest peak in this you will see is for 101 to 200, which is giving you a figure of 20.4%. So that is the optimal size of the school. But if you look at large schools, schools which have more than 500 children, only 3.3. This is again something which you need to keep in mind. And last point is important. I have been telling just about everyone, to all the states, that we need to create more integrated schools having classes 1 to 12. And why do I say that will be apparent in the subsequent slides. So look at this figure. There are 23,965 schools which are small schools, having a less than 50 enrollment. But out of that 23,965, government is running 87%, and the private is only 7%. So private schools are doing well because they have an optimal size. And our schools, to some extent, have become small. And this is impacting our learning outcomes. How we are going to get around this issue while keeping the access as mandated by the Right to Education Act in mind is going to occupy us for the next couple of years. So we start providing that. Again, this is extremely important. Look at, this is a legacy issue. This is the way the education system has evolved in the country. We are running 10 types of schools. So if you take your breakup of 61,693 and you see where children are, and you are running a 1 to 5 school, a 1 to 8 school, a 1 to 12 school, 6 to 12, and you see where children are and the way they are distributed. I have highlighted 3 and I have made them look yellow. These are the schools we actually should have. A school which is from class 1 to 8, maybe 6 to 12 is popular because that's the way the Odisha Avasya Vidyalaya or Navodaya Vidyalayas are running. 1 to 10. So have schools where a child goes into class 1 and in the same school the child is able to do class 10 or maybe class 12. If these are residential schools, the child goes at the age of 6, and in classes 6, and then stay there till class 12. But then what is the negative effect of it? This is the negative effect of it. See, if you look at the last right part, and don't worry if you miss the thread, because I'll leave this presentation with you, so you can sit back, and when you are discussing with your group, then you must discuss it and amongst your colleagues. But the last point is, see, where are we getting dropouts? We are getting dropouts from 5 to 6. 45,000 children are dropping out from 5 to 6 because the school is changing, the geography is changing. 6 to 7 is a little surprising that I'm seeing a fall of 13,910. But 8 to 9, you see 131,000 children are falling out of the system. Because again, if you are in class 8 and then you have to go to class 9, then your geography changes, you have to go to a new school. And look at the table which is on the right-hand side bottom. Only 3.1% children are doing class 1 to 12th with a single admission. That you go to class 1 and the same school you have till class 12th. 10.5% children are doing 1 to 12th journey with 2 admissions. That is one change of school. But more than 85% children are having to do 3 and 4 admissions. This is the issue of structure when I'm talking, that if you require 4 admissions while you are making the journey from class 1 to 12th, chances are that you are going to fall out somewhere. So the last point which has been highlighted in yellow, it says that due to multi-school structure, 86% students possibly undergo admission process at least 3 times. Can we reduce this? That is our challenge before us. And we need to do that because that is going to give you access, and that is going to give you the GER, which is mandated by the National Education Policy, that by 2030, every child, 100% GER up till class 12th. So every child who's part of schooling system gets to do a 15 years of schooling if you include the 3 years of pre-primary classes. Again, this is one board, one slide I would want Shalini you to have a look. You have two boards, and look at class 10. You have a separate board for class 10 and you have a separate board for class 12. In 10th, 5.31 lakh students register for class 10 exam. 11,000 for some reasons are not taking the exam. But pass is pretty good, 5 lakh 11. Only 9,000 are failing. But if you look at the class 12th, which is determined by a different board, 3.58 lakh children are appearing for class 12th. 5,000 are not appearing. 2 lakh 84,000 are passing. But 69,000 are failing. Now, I think this is happening because two boards apply their minds differently, different assessment structures, but the child is being impacted, and the continuity which is there, should be there in the school, is being impacted. So I personally would recommend that there should be one board. There should be one board for class 10, as well as the same board should also do it for class 12, so as to have synergy in the kind of curriculum and the kind of assessment which we are doing. We also can look that children who are failing in class 10 and class 12, can we attach them to the open learning school? You don't have a open learning school, but can we connect them to NEOS? So this 69,000 and 9,000 children, almost about 85,000 children who are failing in class 10th and 12th, should also get an opportunity to at least clear and become a class 10th passed or a class 12th passed. So this is the point. And see how it is being impacted. I'm giving you figures of 2023. This is the success strike ratio in the NEET exam. If you look at the extreme left, you will find that CBSE is there. 70% of children who are appearing in NEET from CBSE board are clearing it. ICSE is also 69. But after that, when the different school boards begin, you'll see an entire continuum there. And national average is 54.9. But if you look at Odisha board is 39.8%. Your 80.5% children are clearing in class 12th. But in NEET, it goes down to 39.8. What I am saying is that two things. We need to look at our assessment pattern. The board needs to look at it. CBSE is doing something right, where the children are doing better. We also need to have a look at our curriculum. Our curriculum should be same, I would say, especially for science subjects. For humanities, for social sciences, for languages, you may contextualize the national curriculum framework. But for physics, chemistry, biology, mathematics, I think we are looking at a national level. There are national level of examinations. I would not want to see any state lag behind or their children having any less strike rate as compared to any other state. So this is food for thought. When you discuss it, you should discuss it in detail. This is the NAS 2021 figures. I think 4th December last we did the NAS 2024. Professor Indrani, are you here? We are all waiting for the NAS 2024 results. But since I do not have it, I am showing the NAS 2021 results. And it is showing that if you look at the extreme left, it is showing for language, then there is mathematics, then there is EVS, and there is science. The worrying part is that as I am going up and climbing the staircase of the school, my learning outcome performance is going down. Why should it go down is a cause of concern, and as education administrators, all of you need to apply your mind so as to arrest this fall. This is the level of, this is the attendance part. So when we are monitoring attendance in the UDICE Plus, and Odisha, we are working about 220 days a year. In the government school, the attendance is 85. Aided is 82. The private schools are having a little better attendance at 89%. So again, monitor your attendance, daily attendance, and make sure that our attendance system is good. If you're losing 15% a year, and if you cumulatively work it over a period of 12 years, that black line says this implies on an average students from school for 33 days a year. So in a journey of 12 years, you have lost out 1.8 years. You have not been to the school. That is not to say 100% attendance it's too good, but we should aim to have better attendance. And why will you get better attendance? Only if you're learning, if your teaching method and your pedagogy becomes interesting, then every child will feel compelled to go to school every day without missing. In many institutions, you don't have any compulsory attendance at all. And yet I find that nobody misses a class. Because going to a class is so exciting. Going to a class is so enjoyable. That is what we need to do that. Just one of the last few slides. You have 1,065 schools with single teachers. And Shalini, we've been telling all these states that we must not have single teacher schools. And these are the districts which have them. And these single teacher schools have 50,189. You are going to convert all your schools also into a third Shishu Vatika. And you have taken that decision for the year 25-26 onwards. So we should do away with this one. At least there should be a two-teacher school, because often we have more than 3, 4, 5 classes in a school, and now you are adding one to every school now. So this deserves the attention. These are remotely placed schools where teachers don't want to be posted. And often they try hard to get very comfortable posting. It's human nature to have comfortable posting, but then what do I do in a school where I have children which is remote, but no teacher wants to go there? Somebody has to go there. There has to be some amount of social responsibility. May not go there for a long period of time, but at least go there for 3 years, 4 years, or 5 years' time. But we should not have a single teacher school. This is just a way of capturing what I had shown in the first slide. We need to have integrated science labs in every school. Internet connectivity is good. Can you saturate it? Can you saturate your computer availability? Because everyone, today I was listening to the Honorable Minister, the Honorable Chief Minister, the Honorable Education Minister. People are talking about artificial intelligence, the kind of digital education, pedagogy. This is possible only if our schools have computers and an internet connection, which will show the entire world to that child. And internet connection opens up the whole world to our children. So these are some of the things you need to do. And skilling. Skilling is something very important. We need to bring it, and the NEP says that from class 6 onwards, we need to have skilling courses in our schools. So that also necessitates presence of a vocational laboratory or a skilling laboratory. And the smart classes, Shalini, aap dekhega, you are at 27.6. I think this is the cheapest intervention, which at a lower cost, we can introduce a smart class in our schools and connect it to an internet. Then you have access to all the digital platforms. You have either be it Diksha, be it Nishtha, or any other digital content which the state also may create for itself. This is the way the higher secondary schools are equipped with physics lab, chemistry, and biology and computer. The reason I'm showing this to you is that you will find that there is a inter-district variation. So when you come for the PAB this time, you should have this chart in front of you so as to reduce the disparity amongst all the districts and bring it to a level which is 100% for all the schools. So this is the last slide. So what is the way forward for us? The way forward for us is that we need to invest more in our secondary schools, create more number of classrooms there. If I have a school which is up till class 1 to 10, I may think that can I add 2 classes there and make it up till class 12th? If I have a school which is till 1 to 8, can I think of making it till class 10 or class 12th? So you have bigger schools, you have integrated schools, and if children have to travel a little distance, then give them transport allowance so they can travel. You see, our road systems in the last decade has improved. Now, even in the villages and all, it is not very difficult to travel a little distance. If we supplement it imaginatively with the conveyance allowance, I think we can encourage children to go to a bigger school, a larger school, where we are adding much greater value and providing better pedagogical outcomes there. So this is one thing. 10 category of schools concentrate on 1 to 8, 6 to 12, 1 to 12, or maybe 1 to 10. But bring down the multiplicity of schools because it distorts the navigation of a child from class 1 to 12th. If you're talking about ease of schooling, then we must ensure. And I must give you an example. You know, Chandigarh is not a very good example to give. But Chandigarh is a small UT, it's a city. But there I find that almost 70 to 80% of schools are schools which are 1 to 12th. And their retention rate is the highest. It is only showing that children can stay in school without dropping out, provided they are in a school which gives them an opportunity to rise vertically. The third point is I've already mentioned that if you have a pyramid, then you need to open that pyramid and you make it into a cylinder. If you have 100 children in class 1, and if you want 100 children in class 12th, you should have 100 seats in class 12th also. So your education system should look like a cylinder. Common standard for exam boards across secondary and higher secondary. And I gave you the example of different states having differential access to NEET exam. We need to create a platform where irrespective of from which state you may come from, you have equal access to many of these central examinations which are being held for engineering, for medical, for law, so many subjects. To attain 100% GR in higher schools, mapping of students who failed in the board exams in class 12th and 12th, link them up with the NEOS. Then not every child who does class 10 needs to go to class 12th, this is 11th, 12th. If you are branching off for skilling, you want to go to an IITI, but then we need to create a robust system by which I can count my students. So if after class 10th, you join an A&M school, you join an ITI, or you join class 11, can I track these children across these 2 or 3 departments so at least I know where they are? And you will be able to do it because you're already creating this APAR ID. And with APAR ID, if every child has a unique ID, then you should be able to track where that child is going. The Vidya Samiksha Kendra and APAR ID gives you a great power and a great tool in your hands to be able to monitor the movement of each and every child who is part of our schooling system. Saturation of core digital infrastructure to prepare students for future global leaders. And of course, the most important is improving attendance and focusing on assessment, competency-based questions. This is something which the boards must do. We are trying to work with all the boards. Recently, Parak, which is part of NCERT, has done a consultation with all the state school boards all across the country. They have prepared a report. The report is uploaded on their website. We have asked all the state school boards and all the state school secretaries to have a look at it and come back to us with their valuable suggestion, so we will be able to close it and come out with a document which is going to show us the way as to what our future assessment is going to be like as per the National Education Policy's mandate. So this is what I have to say. I know this is a little dense. Perhaps I'm sorry if you have missed out something or I have been in a hurry to say things, but have a look at this presentation. I think Shalini, आप इसको सबसे share कर लीजिएगा, give it to all the groups. You can share it to your DOs. I don't mind. Let the teachers also see it. But then, point I'm saying is that all of us need to be on the same page. We need to talk the same language. Every teacher in every school should be worried about, should know what the assessment results are there for their particular school. And he should be engaged with the process that how do I make it better. There are many more things which can be said. You'll be talking about it. I think Dr. Manjul Bhargava is going to talk to you. Anurag Beherji is going to talk to you about it. But last question, which I'm just leaving behind for you, is that we must get the structure right. And it is not very difficult, provided we come together as a group. Education is coming together of people, students, community, and parents and teachers. Activate your school management committees. Make sure that the school management committees meet every 3 months in all your school. Look around and say, who are the children whose attendance is irregular? Who are the children who are part of the local service area, but for some reason are not coming to our school? Can the headmaster, along with the members of the school management committee, go to that house, knock on the door, and ask the parent, why aren't you sending your child to a school? This is a great opportunity. The last, I would sum up by saying that if you look at all the developed countries in the world, and if you want to see a common underlying pattern, you'll see the common underlying pattern is that literacy is 100%. Everyone has gone to school. Girls and boys, there's absolutely no difference. And when you look at the labor force, women are equally represented in the labor force as the men are. All countries which have developed and are doing well have some of these things which are common there. And what makes it possible? It is the education which makes it possible. And the base of all education is school. And even in school, we must get our foundational literacy and numeracy right. We must ensure that every child who comes to class 1 has had done at least 3 years of schooling or pre-primary classes. If you do that, I think we all of us would contribute to what the Honorable Prime Minister has envisioned, making India a Vikasit Bharat by 2047. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you, sir, for your valuable insights into the school education scenario of Odisha. Without further ado,